the title? I can't, NJMLS, I think.
NJMLS, and Remine's on there. So they're very simply titled and dated.
Okay.
So I recently went on the Facebook site and put out a post to everyone listing a bunch of topics that Sally and I have been discussing. So we're going to try to grow the gallery of offerings and put things out there that the agents would find valuable. I'm going to leave the Keller apps to the Keller wizards, and I'm going to stick with the MLS family of apps such as CMAs, MLS, and then talk about the third-party products the MLS offers, since that's my focal point. So that would be your Remines and your Realists and your, I think I can do an entire session on showing time. I think it's that powerful for buyers agents and for listing agents. It's incredibly useful. There's a new feature where you can click a button, and when you book an appointment, it goes into your calendar if you allow it. And people are loving that. So we're going to try to bring these things out, because this is really all about, work smart, not work hard. My goal here, as you've heard me say over the years since we've been doing this, is to have you spend only minutes on these things instead of hours, so you can be out doing other things. And other things could be with clients, or they could be with family. We know the story. I'm not going to repeat that, but that's my goal, is minutes on this stuff rather than hours, and getting tremendous amount out of it and working with more people so we can make money.
Awesome, Larry. Because that's what just to let you know, I don't want to I'll give you a free market analysis, because that might take me 2 hours. So with your help, I can offer it maybe.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, my man.
We're looking to knock that down. So the focus today is going to be number one, NJMLS CMA. And then I'm going to go off to the other third-party attached products, such as Cloud CMA and RPR, because they're included in your membership and they're there. And when we talk about differentiating yourself and looking different than, imagine all of us going after one listing, which in many environments is what's happening. You're going after, with 10 other people. Imagine if you could present something that would be comprehensive and look sharp and be different than all the rest of us. That's truly differentiating yourself. Because if all of us put together the same CMA off the MLS with the same comps, guess what it's going to look like? It's going to be identical to the other 4 that the seller's holding in their hand. So that's the object here, is to give you some other opportunities to stand out from the competition. All right.
Larry, I just want to say that I needed to do a CMA this summer, and I don't do them that frequently. So I went and watched your video on YouTube. It was one of the best classes I've taken in 8 years. I really mean that. I had a great CMA. So thank you.
Thanks, Leslie.
You're welcome.
I hope the check arrived to the right address this time. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get the listing. He decided he didn't want to sell. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
They give you your piece.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give a shout out to someone who's probably not on the video, but I want to say that these things that I'm doing here are only my opinion. I've gathered them from 18 years of experience dealing with other agents. I've spent a lot of time talking to appraisers, because my view is that an appraisal is like a CMA on steroids. Because if you've read the appraisals, and I recommend it, they're about an inch thick, and they're invaluable as to what they're looking for and how they look at it. Now, that said, the appraisal is meant for the bank and not meant for the consumer. So because the appraiser may discount the property a little bit because it's sitting next to a medical building or next to the fire station with the air horn, your buyer may not care. So we have to keep these things in mind. These things are not pure. Just because I say that's the way I do or the way I think doesn't mean that's rules. So I want to just put that out there. It's not a legal disclaimer, but just a personal disclaimer that you're going to develop your own style. And by the time you've done this dozens or hundreds of times, it's going to become a lot easier and you're going to be a lot more confident. So there's nothing more valuable you can do than learning your neighborhood, learning your farm area, visiting houses and being inside them, because looking at them from the street is very, very challenging. So anyway, that said, let me jump in and share some screens, jump into the CMA. It's not scripted. You know the way I do these things. I'm winging them on the fly. So, jump in, ask questions, go into chat, and Reese is going to handle the folks coming in. We're up to 25, so thank you very much for being here. Let's see, share screen. Let's see. Okay, can you see my MLS screen?
Yeah.
Good. So let me start this out. I'm going to do a CMA out of the MLS, and the MLS thought it was important enough that they gave it its own category. It used to be that we went into search, which you can still do, and do a property search and then bring up a CMA report. The MLS decided to put in its own header for CMAs. So I'm going to start with CMA with a property search. I'm going to select Fair Lawn, because that's what I feel like looking at today. And I'm going to take a look at Cape Cods in particular. And I'm going to look at 3-bedroom Cape Cods. I am not going to worry about bathrooms, because bathrooms is an adjustment. So if I've got a house that's got a bath and a half, I can easily call one with 1 bath or 2 baths or 3 baths a comp and make adjustments for that. And we are going to talk about adjustments. And by the way, speaking of adjustments, I started to give some credit to somebody and I got off track, but one of the agents in the office who's very, very strong and is now part of a partnership with Lisa Samataro is Till Horkenbach. And if you get a chance to sit in on Till's CMA, it's brilliant. So I learn a lot from that. I attend it every time he does one, and I've learned a tremendous amount. So keep it in mind. If you see Till, don't miss it. I used to do just the CMA with no adjustments and then let Till handle the adjustments. And recently I've moved into the adjustment section as well. So we'll go through that, and I will be using the auto chart. So let's see, I've got Cape Cods and Fair Lawn, 3 bedrooms. I'm going to look between $400,000 and $500,000. I don't really know where this is all going to fall. I'm going to check my status, and for my status, I want actives, under contracts, and sold in the last 2 months, because there are typically lots of them. And there's 19 in total. So I'm going to search for them. And there we go. So there are 4 actives, there are 7 under contracts, and there are 8 solds. Now, it's going to be a tremendous help, as I said before, if you've been inside these houses. Chances are you haven't been in all of them. And if you're working neighborhoods and you're farming and going outside of your farm or your comfort zone, you probably haven't been in any of them, and it's going to be really crucial to be able to look inside beyond the descriptions from the listing agent and see what they look like. One of the simple ways we can get that done, because of a new feature in the MLS that was put in a few months back, I recommend that you open a new session. I like to leave my CMA running over here in the 1 tab, and I'm going to open a new session over here with the new session icon. And it's going to log me into a new session. And I'm going to use that to go in and run another property search. Here's another new feature while we're here, recent searches. I'm going to grab the one I just did 10 seconds ago, which is the Fair Lawn, and I'm going to bring that up in the 2nd tab. Everyone see what I'm doing there? Why might I want to have a 2nd tab open and keep my CMA running in the other tab? Okay, I'll tell you. I want to be able to look into each individual property and look at the pictures. I'm not just going to take the word of the agent who says totally renovated, and by that he means they put in a new fridge. I want to be able to take a look and see if the floors are tiled, got new countertops, new cabinets. I want to see what a finished basement looks like. If it's just, I drywalled the cinder blocks and I threw down a 10-foot remnant rug, that may not be a finished basement. I have to be able to look inside. I also need to be able to look at the taxes on those properties, and I need to be able to look at the finished square footage from the tax record, because that's going to be a critical element in my CMA. So once again, I've got my one tab with my CMA running over here, and I've got a second tab with details so that I can take a look at the pictures of this property while I still have my CMA running. Make sense? You can open as many of those tabs as you need to. So if you get a call from a client and you are getting interrupted on your CMA, but you have to drop it for that client, you can go and open up another tab and go look at condos in Garfield if you need to. And then you can pop back to your CMA without having to hit back buttons. So you can open up 10 of those windows if you wish. So let's jump back to this piece here. I have to select properties now. And the way I'm going to select them is what I just mentioned. I'm going to look into these properties and I'm going to take a look and see what they look like and then take a look at some footage. Okay, for the purpose of this exercise, who do we do CMAs for? We do CMAs for sellers who may want to sell the house. They call us in to do a CMA to tell them what it's worth. Who else do we do CMAs for?
Buyers?
You can
Buyers.
say it. Yep, we do it for buyers.
Yeah, for buyers too.
Because I want to take a look at this property right here on Vogel Terrace. And that's the property that my buyers are interested in. So I'm going to swipe the MLS number on that property because I'm going to want to use that as my subject property. It'll save me for the exercise of this session. It'll save me from doing a lot of typing and entry. So I'm going to, go ahead, question?
Yep, sorry. So if I'm doing a CMA, how would I enter a subject property if it's not currently active on the MLS?
Excellent question, because that's what you're going to be doing a lot of the time. That comes up in the next screen, and then I'm going to address it then. How's that?
Sure, thank you.
So first, we're going to select the properties that we're taking a look at, and then we're going to have our, if you've gone to visit with the sellers, chances are you have a notepad worth of notes all about the seller property. You have it in your hand right next to your computer. So I'm going to pick these properties that I'm interested in. For the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to select all of the actives, less that subject property. For the purpose of the exercise, I'm just going to take out a few of the under contracts. I'm going to take out the low and the high. And on the solds, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take out the high one, and I'm going to take out a few of the low ones because I'm not going to do adjustments on more than 3. All right, so now I've chosen the properties I'm going to use. Again, keep in mind, we're doing this all in a few minutes. The more properties you choose to put into the analysis, the more adjustments you have to make. And if you pick 8 solds, you have to make adjustments on a dozen criteria in 8 solds, and that will take you half the day. If you want to do it for the sake of the exercise here. I just want to show you what I call the mechanics of how to get this done. So I'm going to select these properties. I come over to the report, and you can see, because I started in the CMA section, it's already focused on running a CMA report. And we're going to get to Roddy's question. So I'm going to hit go. and it's going to bring me to the next screen. This screen here is where I begin to enter in the client, all the information there. I hope that I've already, when I was going for the appointment, I hope that I grabbed at least one picture on my phone so I can put a picture in here for the report. I'm going to put the name in here and so forth. And here, Roddy, is where you're going to enter in. If you're doing this for a seller and you've just been there to interview them, here's where you're going to enter in all the details about their property. So as soon as I've selected the properties, Anne Marie, question?
I just want to say, I learned from the first time I did this, take a horizontal picture, not a vertical one.
Yes.
Because the vertical picture goes in the middle and then you have white space on both sides. So take a horizontal picture.
Yes, because most pictures are oriented in landscape.
Yes.
So, good point. Thank you.
Yeah. Live and learn, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's going to be the front page of your report when you present it, either in email or in print. So it's nice as you're walking up to the front door to meet them, take a shot. All right, so I'm going to save some time because I'm going to come over here and I'm going to fill in this data from an MLS number that I captured, which was for the property I'm working on. Again, for the purpose of the exercise. I click on fill from the MLS number, and what you'll see is it's filled in the data from the MLS. Can you see that?
Yep. So Larry, quick question. If the house is on the MLS, if it's been sold or purchased within the past 5 years or so, can you use that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Just swipe and copy the MLS number and autofill from the MLS.
Got it. And you identified as the subject property?
And it's right here. This is the subject property right here. So this whole page is subject property.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say that this is a new profile. It's not for an existing. I'm going to come in here and it's going to be, and I'm going to put in 123 Maple Ave, and it's going to be I don't know what the zip for Boonton is off the top of my head. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to put Nick at AOL. Again, this is just for the class purpose. I filled all that in. I come down here, it's setting up my report, and it has filled in all of this information. And I put in the status date as today, 11/02/2020. It's filled in the rest of the information. Here is where you would make any adjustments for information that you don't find to be accurate. So it says it's got a finished basement and the number of rooms, garages, 1 car attached, gas heat, central air, lot square footage. It did not fill in, so I'm going to have to grab that. This is where I'm going to use my other tab because I selected the house on Vogel Terrace. I'm going to jump over to my other tab and I'm going to grab the tax report for the other one. And I'm going to see that the property is 40 by 89 and the building square footage is 2005. 40 by 89 and 2005. 40 by 89, so it made it 40 by 90. So this is going to be 3,600 feet. And the dwelling is 2005. We good so far? So I'm filling in all the subject data, which I'm going to use for my comparison against these others. For the purpose of the report, this is where you would put in nice things about the property. They're going to print that on the report. Hardwood floors, finished basement. Again, I'm making this up. close to park, and so forth. These are going to print out for the purpose of the seller or buyer to complete your report. And then it's going to form, based on what I put in, it's going to format a letter to say, thank you, Mr. Mason, for allowing me to talk to you about the property. And the important thing we're going to get to is right down here. And that is the choice between go right to the pricing, which would be no adjustments, or go to adjust the comps. For the purpose of the exercise, I'm going to go to adjust the comps, and I'm going to say save and continue. Good so far? Check listings are no longer available. Complete your review and try again. I've never seen that before. Okay, now the pressure's on. I'm not sure what that means. Let's see. Check listings are no longer available.
Maybe some of the solds.
Bum, 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 bum.
Is that because you have a different address from what you're looking for? You entered Boonton and you're looking in Fairlawn? Could that be?
That may be, I may have, thank you, I may have hosed myself up with that. So let's see if I can go through here and, yeah, let me go.
Larry, I think it might be because somebody, one of those ARIPs might have gone under contract while you were doing this.
Ah,
I don't think that address here, because the seller address can always be different than the actual property address.
Maybe some of the solds are very old, Larry.
I think the first answer was the right one, is because I invented an address that doesn't work and I declared that to be an MLS and it didn't go. So let's try that. That's my guess. Ha.
Have a look at the solds, Larry. Some of them may be very old.
I don't think that's going to matter. They can't be really old because my criteria was the last 2 months.
Oh, right.
That's how I chose them. Let's return to the results and see if I've done something here I don't want to do. All right, I tell you what, for the sake of all this, I'm going to choose all of them because I want to get past this and I don't want to struggle with this here. I want to get past them and say CMA and go, and let's see what we can do. Let's see. I don't want to get hung up on this. Let's see. 3,600. If not, I'm going to have to start from scratch and see where I fell. Let's see. Let's try again. Boom. Okay, I'm not going to sit and bother figuring out why. We're just going to move past it. Because again, we want to talk about the mechanics of how we do this, not the details. Okay, so what you're going to see here is that when I go into the adjustments, it's only giving me the solds. Okay, we're going to make adjustments. We're going to make adjustments on the subject property that we're looking at, or we're going to make adjustments on the comps.
On
On
the
the
comps.
comments.
Comps.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Comps always. So what we have here is a side-by-side, 3 at a time, comparing my subject to my comps. Only the solds show up in this adjustment section. So let's go through. And I'm going to pick the ones that are the low-hanging fruit here. We're going to go through, and again, you can do as many of these as you want to. For the purpose of being able to do my research, I'm going to go over to my second tab that I opened up. I'm going to check them all. And I'm going to bring up customer report with brief tax, which is going to give me, whoa, that's not a help. Wow. Who's doing this? Who's doing this to me? You guys are putting a lot of pressure on here. Okay, we'll figure something out. Let's get back over to the adjustments. All right, so as you can see, the subject property is a 3-bedroom with 2.5 baths, 2 full, 1 half. These first couple all are 3-bedroom, 2 full without half baths. So I'm going to start at the top of the list and I'm going to go to my, my auto sheet. By now, you guys know what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about the auto adjustment chart.
Mhm.
You probably have seen it. There's a new one every year, and Auto Valuation Group puts together this chart every year with different factors. The chart is divided up into 5 price ranges: 250, 400, 750, $1.25 million, and 2.5 million. Because a powder room has different value in the adjustment section than it does in 2.5 as it does in a 250 house. So you have
Larry, can I
5
ask,
price ranges.
can I ask you something?
No.
Okay.
Are you visiting the Queen, Rebecca? I see that's a wonderful background,
Yeah, I thought that was a nice mention.
as is Anne Marie's. I like them both. Unless that's actually,
Yes, Larry.
unless you're actually sitting there, and I'm very impressed. Go ahead.
Oh, and one of the things that I find is the biggest problem is that there are only these 5 categories, and invariably my subject always falls between the categories, and there's kind of a lot of juggling as to exactly what numbers you're going to use. I wish he had more than just those 5 categories.
Well, the reality is, and you know, this is familiar for me because I'm a mathematics major by education. We have to do what we call extrapolating.
Right.
So if you find that you have a house that's at 350, you have to kind of do the math in between the ranges and pick a number for yourself and go with it. And I know it's not as convenient. You're not typically going to find one right that's at 400 or 750. If you're looking at a 650 house, you have to make a judgment and you have to do the math.
And I agree, and that's what I do, but between 400 and 750, there's a huge difference. And so between 750 and 1250, it's kind of, it's time consuming.
Yes. So you have to do the math. And again, we don't want to split hairs, because after a while, you know, again, this stuff is not science. It's all a matter of guesstimates. And so, you know, my thoughts may differ on this particular range than Mr. Otto's, and I'm not ever claiming to know more than he does, because that would be ludicrous. But again, you have to go with it and come up with a number. So
Okay.
I don't foresee him coming up with 12 columns. So he's added to this. It used to be 3. He's put in the 250 for smaller houses and condos, and he's gone up to 2.5 for those in the luxury market. So you do have to go in between.
Yeah.
So for example, a full basement at 400 is worth 12,000, and a full basement at 750 is 20,000. So if you're looking at a 650 house, you have to decide that maybe it's 18,000 and you have to go with it.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sit there and beat up the calculator and try to figure out exactly down to 50 cents. It's just not worth it. And, you know,
No, it's an approximation, I
it's
understand.
all guesstimates. My old engineering buddy used to call it a swag. It's a scientific wild ass guess. So after a while, you just have to, swag it. So let's make adjustments. I want to show you the mechanics of how this goes. The subject property has 2.5 baths. The first 3 conveniently have no half baths. So we're going to put a half a bath into each one, and the valuation for half a bath at 400 is, according to my chart, $5,000. So I'm going to put in $5,000. Okay, here's the big question for the class. Plus or minus?
Plus.
Minus?
Plus.
All right, I got a couple of pluses and a couple of minuses. State your case. Sell me on it.
Plus.
Tell me why.
Because you have to add the value to the comp that doesn't have the bathroom to make it similar to the subject that does have the half bath.
Anyone agree with that?
Yes.
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 Okay. The way I learned it is it's counterintuitive. So where your first thought might be, you know, it's missing, you know, it's less, you have to think the other way. A couple of people over time have come up with acronyms that help them figure this out. If a couple of them that I've heard from the people are CPA and CBS. So if the comp is poorer, then add. If the comp is better, then subtract. Whatever ones you like to use that work for you, go for it. But as long as you do it in the right direction. So yes, this comp has less, it has a half a bath less than the subject property. So the thinking is, if you had to add the half a bath to make it similar to the subject, you would add $5,000 in value. It would have sold for 5,000 more. So
Oh,
says
right,
Mr. Otto. It's green, it defaults to plus. So we're going to add 5,000 to each of the houses. Good with that so far?
Mhm.
Very good. Okay, let's go down. Basements. This gets very, very interesting depending on house styles. There are two key factors that we're looking at in basements, and there's adjustments, 4 adjustments in the auto chart. So the first thing to think about with the basements is it full or is it a partial basement? If there was an expansion in the house and there's a full basement under the original house, and then there's another section that's a crawl space or a slab, you know, that's a partial. So you have to talk about full and partial basements. And then we talk about finished, yes, no, finished, partial. So you have to consider all of those factors. So it could be a full basement and be partially finished. It could be a partial basement and be completely finished. So you want to go through this and look at the chart and see. Now, the reason, again, that I have my second tab open with all of the properties over here in my second tab, let's see if our technical difficulty, wow, that's really a bummer. I still can't go do what I need to do. I'm going to eliminate that tab and see if there's something else going on here. Bear with me a second. See if I can open the second one. Good. All right, I'll try it a different way. Bear with me. So I want to see what the basement really looks like, because I can't tell from here. I want to see what the basement really looks like at 13-41 2nd Street. And I don't want to take a lot of time, so I'm going to copy and paste that MLS number. I'm going to jump over to my new tab. I'm going to put the MLS number in my quick search bar up at the top. You see what I'm doing?
Mhm.
I quickly get that report. Again, time. I jump down. The basement is partially finished. Okay, it's a Cape Cod, it's probably full. This particular REO agent is not going to give me more information than that, so we're going to have to make a guesstimate and say partially finished. I'm coming back to my CMA. My CMA for the subject property says finished and full. I'm going to come over to my partial finished supplement. And I'm going to make an adjustment of a few $1,000s. Because according to Mr. Otto, a complete finishing supplement is 7,000. So for the sake of the class, I'm going to put in 3,000 and say this is partially finished.
Mhm.
Plus or minus?
Plus.
Sounds like plus. We're going to go with plus because it has less than the subject.
Oh, right.
This is listed as finished. This is listed as finished. No adjustments. Good so far?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm running too fast or I'm just flying by here, just stop me and say, I'm not getting that. Please try your best to be looking at the screen. I know it's tempting to be doing it on yours at the same time, but I guarantee you, you're going to miss it if you're looking at yours. All right, garages. The subject property has an attached one-car garage.
Mm-hmm.
This property here has a two-car garage.
Mm-hmm.
For the sake of the class and not to spend more time on it than it's worth, I'm going to presume that it's attached, and we're just going to go and hit the supplement for a garage. Okay, it's $10,000 for a garage on a $400,000 house.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go $10,000 plus or minus.
Minus.
Thank you. Minus, I hit the minus sign. You can now see when I scroll down that I've got adjustments, net adjustments of minus $2,000 on this because I've got 8,000 plus 10,000 minus.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the system is dynamically making adjustments to this house. Important note on the auto report, and you can spend a lot of time on this or a little. If you're looking at the auto chart, you will see attached and built in, and you will see detached and basement.
Mm-hmm.
As we know, once we've seen lots and lots and lots of houses, basements and garages are linked up in all kinds of different ways. It's not just simply attached and detached. I can have an attached garage that's on grade level, and you walk in no steps into the kitchen with your babies and your groceries, and I would think that's highly desirable for many buyers. You can also, particularly in a house of this style, you can have an attached garage. I happen to own one of these myself. My childhood home in Bergenfield has an attached built-in one-car garage. You cannot get into the house from that garage.
Yeah.
Is that as desirable as one where there's a door going inside where when it's raining and snowing, you can walk right in? No. Mr. Otto does not come up with a separate category for that. But again, that's one of these ones where you're going to have to pull that one out of your gut and wing it. And you may have people that say, I don't want a house with a garage where I have to close the door and stand in the rain and walk outside. I'm going to have my babies and my groceries. I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You will also have buyers who say, if the house is on a slope and the garage is under the house, and I've got 13 steps up from the garage every single time with that same baby and my groceries, I don't want that house either. You're going to have to do a lot of homework, as you know. Listen, I know a lot of you for a long time, and a lot of us have seen literally thousands of homes. Some of you who are new and are not out in these houses, you haven't seen as many, but there are many, many different styles, and each one of them has a desirability. Mr. Otto has given you some of these so you can choose. So he's categorizing detached and basement as the same adjustment value. I can tell you from my personal house that I'm sitting in right now, I never thought I would buy a house with a detached garage. I happen to have done that. It's sitting right outside. However, there's a nice large breezeway over the top. So you can, in fact, come out of the garage on a snowy day and walk to the front door. It's only a couple of steps without getting wet.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference. Is there a category for that? No. So you're going to have to pick and choose how you value that. And yes, there are going to be buyers that walk away from that house because they don't want it. So again, Mr. Otto's done a phenomenal job with identifying the categories. Again, he's got 4 categories with 2 price points: attached and built in, and detached and basement. Questions? Again, this is, as we've talked about over time, this is not science. This is a lot of experience and a lot of gut reaction to how desirable the house is going to be. Buyers are going to go online and take a look. You're going to make your best guesstimate for adjustments with your seller, price the house, and buyers are going to come by and see that the garage is a full story below, and they're going to say, absolutely not, and they're going to walk away. And when they walk away, what happens to the price? The fewer people that come to look at the house, it affects the price. We all know this. So that said, here's the adjustments. I'm going to figure that the first house here on 2nd Street gets adjusted. These others are marked as attached. Let's go see how many garages Winona has. Again, I'm going to come over here and copy the MLS. I'm going to put the MLS address into here.
You
You
lose
lost
Larry?
Larry? Think so.
I think Larry's left the
Seem
building.
to have lost Larry.
I think so.
Zoom session.
Oh, there he is. There he is. Well, it's
Wow.
like you froze for a minute and then we lost you.
Don't know.
That was
Don't know.
bizarre.
Rebecca, see if you can push gallery view on your computer.
Me,
Yes,
gallery view.
yes.
I don't even see where that is.
Put your cursor up to the right-hand corner.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. What
What's
does that
that?
do?
Push it.
Yeah, I think I got the hook.
Oh, no, but I like to see Larry because I want to see his screens.
Well, he's going to share it.
Oh.
And we will.
Yeah, and
Let's
also
see.
Rebecca, it says speaker view. I think up on your top right-hand corner, it says speaker view. Push that and you'll probably see Larry.
Yeah.
No, I can see you, Leslie, and Marianne, Anne Marie, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. There's the screen again.
Can you see my
Okay.
screen? I'm trying to
Yes,
get
I
myself
can.
back to where I was.
But I just learned something that I didn't know before about gallery and screen. I learn something every time.
That's
Yay,
it. All right. I think we're back.
we are.
I think we're back. So again, I'm going to attempt to take a look at the details of this second comp so I can continue my adjustments, because it says it's attached garage, but I want to confirm it's 1 or 2. It's probably 1, but let's find out. Let's see. Again, Winona. Let's make a copy of that MLS. Let's drop it into here. This is where I got knocked out last time. Let's see where we got kicked out. All right, there's the Winona house, and it's got 1 car, so no adjustment there. All right, let's move on. Fireplace, none of them have any. Fireplaces in this price range are listed as about $7,000, according to Mr. Otto. So in this group of 3, we don't have any fireplaces. There is no adjustment for type of heating. We do know that people have preferences. We have folks that are fans of steam, hot water, hot air. No adjustments for type. There are adjustments for central air as far as how many zones. And it does appear that there's an adjustment if your heating has multiple zones of $4,000. Because people find that to be more desirable, because it should yield better heat coverage and reduced bills, being that you can close off portions of the house. In this particular case, jumping down to lot dimensions, I don't think we'll be making any adjustments, as these properties are similar in size. If one of them was a half an acre or one of them was an acre, we'd make adjustments. The acreage adjustments are up near the top of your auto chart. $5,000 for half an acre, $10,000 for an acre. That always brings up questions because that is not the purchase price of an acre of land in Bergen County, but that's the adjustment that the experts have put on there. Let's continue. Here's the big one. Here's the big one that everyone wants to spend time on, and this is where your knowledge of jumping around MLS and tax records is going to help, and that is dwelling square footage. Nothing will topple your appraisal or your CMA more than the difference between physical house sizes, finished square footage. Constantly discussed, constantly debated. Did the agent include the basement? Are they including a space that's not livable? I had a conversation with an agent who's on this call, who I'm not necessarily going to name, and asked whether or not a third floor was deemed occupiable, if that's a word, in that town. I have seen houses where they list a third floor master bedroom, and it turns out when you call the town, it is not deemed to be habitable, even though you can build a house up to 35 feet off the street. So people can take a house with a unfinished attic and finish it for their own purposes and put a teenager up there or put a master up there, which we've seen. You may not always be able to include it in finished square footage because the town doesn't see it that way. So always a constant source of debate. Different style houses. Some of them, the finished property is halfway below grade, like with a split level house. Sometimes it's in the basement. Then we have walkouts, constant debate over square footage. I find that the people that are most valuable to discuss this with are appraisers because they know what the rules are. And I try to gauge my analysis based on finished square footage that the appraisers go with. So that said, I need to go to each one of these listings and check the tax record because that's where this data is coming from to see what the listed square footage is. I just showed a house the other day and the square footage that the owner is saying is dramatically different than what the town tax record has to say. And I called the town and they acknowledge the house has been modified and it hasn't been reassessed yet. So you obviously want to do your homework. So let's go through. I'm going to go to 2nd Avenue again. I'm going to copy that link, that MLS number. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take a look at that. And here's the 2nd Avenue. There it is. And my tax record says $13.95. Boom. Big difference. I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to take 2,005 square feet minus $13.95. That equals 610 square feet difference. From the tax record, unless I know something that no one else knows, I have to take that as law. Not unusual for a Cape Cod to be 1,395 square feet, in my experience. Plenty may be larger, but that's not unusual. Especially not on a 37-foot lot, you'll notice. That is not a large footprint. If the lot is 37 feet, the house is probably 23 feet. Big difference. So I'm going to go to my auto chart, and on a house approximately $400,000, my adjustment is approximately $70 per square foot. So I'm multiplying 610 square foot difference times 70, and there's your adjustment, $42,700. That's usually the one that stops people in their tracks. So I'm going to come over to this 2nd Street, and I'm going to put in $42,700 plus or minus.
Plus.
Well,
Because if that house was as large as the subject, it would have sold for more, correct?
Yep.
Thank you. I think myself that that's the most important thing you can look at beyond all of these other factors here, because that is typically a very large number. If you've had more than one or two conversations with buyers and sellers, that's usually the one that stops them in their tracks, because the owners of these other properties will tell you, as you well know, they'll say, well, my house is the same as those. And you will then say, not really. 600 feet different is almost 50% larger on a house that's $13.95. That's a dramatic difference in price. So as you can see on the adjustments, when we put that in, we've now got big adjustments on the sale price of that house. It sold for $400 a couple of weeks ago, and according to our adjustments so far, that house would have sold for $440, $700, and that's going to affect the algorithms that help us price this house. Make sense? All right, let's go on to the next one. Leslie, go ahead.
She's muted.
Unmute yourself, please, Leslie.
Sorry. In general, in a split level, all the floors is counted as square footage, but in a colonial or a cape, the basement, even if it is finished, is not added into the square footage. Is that correct? In general?
Let's be specific. If the basements in a colonial or a Cape Cod are completely subterranean,
Okay.
typically the finished square footage does not count.
How about if it has little windows, but it's a regular basement with small windows? That's subterranean?
Subterranean.
Okay.
If you have a bi-level style with no basement and the lower level that goes out to the family room and the patio and the garage is all above ground, you will find that that footage is typically always included.
Okay. And okay.
If you have a house, if you have that same colonial that's built on a slope, and therefore you have a walkout basement as the back of the yard goes down, much of the time, I can't be more positive than that, much of the time that footage is included because it's not subterranean.
Okay.
That gets debated constantly.
Okay.
We'll then hear the argument about whether or not the renovation was done with permits and done with egress windows. I've had a good amount of experience with that, where the township, because what I do is I call appraisers and then I call the township and I ask the township, how do you see this house? And I've discussed this particular case in my previous classes over the years. I sold my clients a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, a ranch with a subterranean basement. They finished the lower level with permits, put in huge egress windows that the large fireman with the backpack can climb out, and finished a full bath, beautiful stone and tile bedroom. I put the house back on the market after having that discussion confirmed with the township building code people. I put it on as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Got tons of offers. Buyer comes back, goes through appraisal. Appraiser comes out and says, the bathroom downstairs doesn't count, neither does the bedroom. I don't care what the town says. Buyer demands a credit.
Oh, God.
All day long, there's no pure answer to it.
Buyer
If the basement is
And Larry, one appraiser can think one thing and another appraiser can say he may have agreed with what the town said. I
That's
mean,
correct. That's correct. I felt very confident after talking to the town that I was listing it correctly because, as is my normal procedure, I list it only as the town sees it.
Mhm.
Okay, so the town is taxing those people. The town is taxing those people on that property, but the appraiser says that that square footage does not exist. Therefore, the people probably will not get their mortgage at the price they wanted to pay. Is that?
Correct.
And so then you have to deal with that. The house did not appraise. Okay.
It didn't appraise. We had to offer a credit. Sellers were not happy. We negotiated. We, both parties gave in a little bit and they sold and moved away.
Okay.
But it
Thank
was
you.
a learning experience. And I can tell you from there that I and we can never be positive because I thought I did all my due diligence and I still got smacked.
If the basement has walkout, like the deck doors, like a open walkout, is that considered? No.
Typically, I believe, and one really good resource, by the way, is one of our own agents, Jenny Carpenter, who's an appraiser, and she always is willing to jump in on Facebook discussions. She's really very talented. And that's a discussion I'll discuss this with appraisers for hours because I want to know. My understanding is if you have a walkout, a finished supplement walkout basement with full sliders walking out daylight, not little windows, that they count. Naturally, we get into this whole thing where the agents want to just include it and we have that factor. So we have real estate versus taxes versus buyer preference, and that's part of the big discussion.
Thank you.
So, but it gets crazy. And to Leslie's question, it gets crazier with split levels. And I owned one for over 20 years. The third level, so splits are typically 3 and 4 levels. I've just, in Fairlawn recently, I sold a 5. So typically the bedroom level up top, down to the kitchen, living room, dining room level, 6 steps down to the rec room, family, laundry level, and then depending on the land, there's a lower level 6 steps down from there.
Yeah.
In many of them, the level with the laundry may be included because their windows are typically at ground level. They're full-size windows and you're looking right out on the lawn. And so it gets very confusing. Typically the level below that might be unfinished in the basement is not included. So it gets really crazy with splits. I hope that helps. Again, it's not science. Everyone's got an opinion, and it gets very crazy. So that's why when we're being encouraged not to talk too much about square footage, that's the reason why. Because if we declare it as, this, I saw someone listed a property recently with a finished basement in a castle size house. And they said it's 10,000 square feet. Really little print, including the new finished basement. So the house is about 6,500 square feet, grade level and second, and then the finished basement, and they put it in there, 10,000 feet. And I wouldn't want to be involved in that, but that's what we do. So anyway, let's get back to the CMA. So we've made a huge adjustment here on this house from this price. I'm going to go over here and look at the Winona house now. And the Winona house is, and we're going to keep moving forward. The Winona house is $1,375. So again, another large adjustment. And just so we don't take up too much time just doing the math, it's going to be another $42,000, $43,000 adjustment because this house is also 600 or 700 square feet less. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next house on First Street. Again, I'm going to grab that MLS number. I'm going to take advantage of the tools with the MLS. I'm going to drop it in here in the interest of speed. Call up that sold. Bless you if that was a sneeze.
Yes, excuse me, I forgot I was not muted. I'm
Okay.
God bless you.
here we go, 1170 on First Street. So now we're talking about, and you'll see where the numbers are going. Now we're talking about 2,005 square feet on the subject, minus 1170 is 835 times $70 a square foot, 58,450. As you can see, the adjustments are getting substantial.
Larry?
Yes.
Can I ask, how did you get the $70 per square foot?
Coming right off the auto chart for houses in the $400,000 column. Do you have the chart in front of you?
I do.
Can you see it? Gross living area, right in the center. Per square foot.
Okay, I see it.
At 250, it's 40. At 400, it's 70. At 750, it's 90. And then it goes up to 125, 175.
Okay, thank you.
My experience, and if you talk to more and more agents, this is the area where agents get tripped up and you run into sellers where houses don't appraise and we wind up with egg on our face because this is an area that's often ignored because a lot of agents just take a look and go, let's see. Oh, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Take a look at them from the outside, 1 garage, similar size lot. That's the same house. When the appraiser comes along and checks the footage, if this gets verified and they take your offer and they whack it by $58,000 or $60,000, I can tell you that all heck is going to break loose. Because when they put that in the report and go back to the bank, they are not going to give, if that's a substantial loan, they're not going to give that loan. That's a big adjustment. And for anyone that says these houses are similar, you know, that's really a stretch.
So do you actually then not include that in your comp? Is that a good idea or not a good idea?
Oh, I absolutely put that in there because that's invaluable.
Okay.
Larry, what was the square footage on that third house that generated the 58,000? What was it?
1170.
Oh, 1170.
So that house has a footprint of about 600 square feet. Second floor, about the same, 1170 is the number. Our subject property has a substantial footprint, it's 2,000 square feet, according to the tax record. We're all saying that out loud. These are similar houses, but that is a major factor. And as you can see, it took the sale price of 405 2 months ago and has now made an adjustment up to almost 470. And that's going to change the algorithm a lot. That's why Mr. Otto knows what he knows. And that's why the people who have been teaching us this, like Till and a lot of the others that swear by this adjustment method, this is where you get close on pricing the house. This is also, quite frankly, where it gets contentious with the seller, where they say, oh, no, my house is the same as that one. In fact, my kitchen's nicer. And you come back with this number, and I promise you, strap in, because that's not a fun conversation. Okay, central air. These two have central air also. This one does not. Let's take a look at the chart. Let's presume it's one zone. Central air is being listed in the chart at $5,000. Central air, 5,000, plus or minus?
Plus.
Plus, yeah.
Plus. The comp doesn't have it. The subject does. The presumption is it would have sold for 5,000 more with the central air. Okay, so have we done enough adjustments that you get the idea? I don't think we have to do 6 more comps. All right, so what I'd like to do from here is show you one of the newest features in the MLS when I go to the next screen, and then jump in and talk about other CMA models. Okay with that? All right, so let's go and say continue, and let's presume we're done. It's going to take me to the pricing page. Take me a second here for it to update. Come on, MLS, bear with me. Come on, baby. I hope they are not having issues while we're going through this.
What button did you push, Larry?
Continue, bottom right.
Bottom right, continue, okay.
And it asks you, it reminds you that it's going to save the CMA as you're in, and then continue to the pricing page. And for some reason, as we saw the error before, there may be an issue in the server farm. Come on.
Can you show us the bottom of your screen? We can't see it.
You'll have to move your pictures. I can't show you anymore.
Okay.
You can move the pictures to a different part of your screen.
La-
Wonder how I do
Larry,
that.
could it be because it says 1 of 3 of 18? Do you have 18 properties?
I have 8 comps, but I'm still looking to go to the finish.
Oh, okay.
No, we're kind of frozen here, and that's really disappointing because I want to show you the newest and coolest feature that is in this section. Just came up in the tech meeting today.
But Larry, the other point is, I would throw up my hands when I was new and say, I did it wrong, I did a bad job. And it's not, it's sometimes just the MLS. So it's not, it's okay. This is what happens.
That's correct. And look how far we've come.
Yes.
All right, come on. Oh, boy. I really want to show you this next feature and go from here.
Larry, can you save and go back to it?
I'm trying to save now. The next step is that it saves. And now it's hung up. What I may have to do is bail out and jump into a saved one and see if it'll let me go there, because we're kind of lost.
I gotta go. I'll watch the recording. I got someone who needs transport. Bye. Thank you. It was great.
Thanks, Leslie. Take care. Thanks for joining us. All right, I'm gonna bail out of this because there appears to be an issue, and I'm going to reshare a new screen. Please bear with me. All right, let's see how this goes. I'm going to go to one of my saved CMAs and see if we can go from here. Wow, they appear to have a problem. That is really disappointing when this is the focus of my session. Because now I'm gonna have to get to here. Let's see if it saved Nick. It did. Let's go here. Let's go to edit. And here we are. And let's go right to the save and continue. Let's see if we can get there. Come on. There we go. There we go. All right, so we jumped ahead. So when you're finished doing the CMA, it drops you into this final pricing page. where it gives you the average min-max of the actives, the under contracts, the solds. It comes down here and it runs its algorithm and it gives you its opinion of where your subject house falls. You have a spot here that they intentionally leave blank where you can fill it in with your suggestion. A lot of agents prefer to carry it in there with that empty and have a discussion instead. In many cases, depending, I fill this in because I want there to be a written record, written and dated record of what my recommendation was. Because as we know, if you go in there and you get a seller who says, Larry, I appreciate all your time and effort and your experience, but I really want to put it on for 700,000. And you decide to try it because you're a new agent and you want desperately to have a sign in the lawn. Do you want a record of what your recommendation was on the day you went there? I do.
Absolutely.
Because it gets, without sounding too cynical, it gets lost in the sauce as to whose idea the 700 was. And I don't recommend, you know, not that this is part of this discussion, but I don't recommend putting it on for 700 because you want your sign in the lawn. As one of our associates used to say, and I'm not going to name her, she would say during the listing presentation, I don't put the sign in the lawn and allow it to rust. So I don't recommend it, but I like to have a record of what my recommendation is. So here's the best and newest feature that you may or may not have seen yet. The active prospect count. As part of the MLS Tech Committee and the Board of Directors, we had some powwows and talked about how we can leverage the enormous amount of buyer data that is in the MLS by virtue of the fact that all the agents, 13,000 agents, are saving client data in there under prospects. Town by town, price range, bedrooms, baths, what they're looking for, and so forth. That data has been poured in there. Hopefully you have dozens of prospects saved, or you will have if you don't already. So what we decided we could do is leverage the buyer data that's in there because we now know, according to the agents, what buyers are looking for in each town. So wouldn't it be helpful if before you made a final decision and maybe you have this screen open with your sellers, wouldn't it be helpful to be able to say, I can move this slider around and see how many prospects are looking for a house that's similar to this in this price range. So if we look at the slider where it is right now, the data indicated list price is 447, so it rounded it up to 450. So the information that I was just discussing with you says that there are 96 saved prospects in the MLS currently that are searching for a house at 450 in Fairlawn. Do you think that's valuable data?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if I slide this, the seller says to me, well, let's try it at 500. So I can slide this up to 500. And what I see here dynamically is we've lost 6 buyers. If I put it up higher, I've lost more buyers. If I put it down lower below the 450, in case you want to see whether or not you might be able to generate a bidding war, look what happens. 96 saved prospects looking for a house like this in this range in this town. There's now 120. Do we find this to be valuable data?
I think so.
That's the newest feature in the MLS.
That's
But-
very valuable. That's amazing.
But it might lead the seller to think, well, let's go all the way. Let's go all the way to the right.
Higher, well, I think what we're trying to show here is that if they want to go higher, because most sellers think that they know more about it than we do, so say the studies, I think what we want to use is use the tool to show them that they're going to diminish the buyer pool by
Right.
going higher.
But do we actually show them this? Do we just like, does it prepare a report for us or a chart for us instead of actually showing them move around? I mean,
It's an excellent question. I can tell you that this morning at the tech meeting at 10:30 that came up, and there was the vote to look and see if we can create a report from there. So thank you for that feedback. But for
Be
right
nice
now,
to see it in the chart.
right this minute, the slider is simply dynamic and it's here for display. So you can open up your computer or tablet and show the seller while you're sitting with them, either in a Zoom or at the kitchen table.
Larry, I thought it was interesting that you put the slider all the way to the right and you only lost 6 buyers, but the price increased to, I think it was over 500,000. If I showed a buyer that, I'm sure that they, oh, well, now you've gone a long way further. But at one point you'd only lost 6 buyers and yet the price was quite a substantially higher. And I think most buyers would say, oh, let's go for that higher price.
Well, they might. So what you glean from this information is up to you. I think it's a wonderful new feature, and I think that there's a lot to be gained from this. And I think that listing agents are going to enjoy having this open and having this discussion with their sellers.
Yeah.
Larry, what's the time frame of the active prospect count? Is that like 3 months back or 6 months back, or how do you know if it's people looking right now, or that are 4 months or 5 months or 6 months old?
Scott, that's an excellent question as well. And again, I can tell you from the meeting this morning that it was discussed that we might put in a second slider for active days on market as to how far back these active people were looking. So thank you for that. Excellent question. So right now, this is the feature and it's live. We're also talking about taking this slider feature and pulling it out of the CMA, maybe under the search column, so that it would be accessible without you having to do a CMA.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea.
That came out this morning as well. So
Can you
that's up
repeat
for
that?
discussion.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
There's some discussion to take this feature and to bring it out and put it under the search bar and call it active buyer pool, whatever we want to call it, so that you can look around and see how many people are looking in a town for houses in this price range.
Without having to do a CMA.
Without having to jump in and do a CMA. I think it would be a valuable place to put it.
I do too, Larry. I think that's an excellent idea.
Something else, by the way, that you may not be used to doing, and it's not related to CMA, but I'll bring it up anyway. If you've put in a prospect and you've gone to the prospect setup screen and you've seen something called reverse prospecting, it used to default to no. Reverse prospecting gives listing agents the ability to see you as the agent and see that you've got a buyer prospect entered, which is where this data comes from, and they might be interested in your listing. So if I've got this house in Fairlawn and I see that Scott has a buyer that's looking for a house in similar area, in similar price range, I will not see Scott's buyer, but I will be able to contact Scott and say, Scott, I see you've got a buyer prospect set up in Fairlawn at about 475 to 500. They might want to take a look at my house. That now defaults to yes. It used to default to no because it used to post the name of the prospect. And so many of us raised a hand and said, no go, that got killed. So what we're trying to do is reintroduce the feature more confidential because we think it's valuable. So I would encourage you to try when you go in to set up your prospect, say reverse prospecting, reverse prospect yes, which is the default. And you may get calls from listing agents saying, you may want to look at my house. That will help all the agents that are out there, inquiring with people who's got a 3-bedroom house in Fairlawn at 450 that I can look at. This way you could have agents calling you.
Larry,
right.
does that mean I can go back on prospects that I've already entered, some of them a while ago, and change all those
Yes.
defaults to yes, because now they won't
Yes.
go to show client names, or does it only affect new prospects you're putting in there?
It's an excellent question. Go back and change them to yes and hit save.
Okay, great. Well, I'll do that. Thank you.
Yep. Remember, it's a cooperative competition we've got here with the 13,000 agents in our MLS. We can't do it alone. We need the other side. We need the cooperation.
Right.
So that said, this is the conclusion of the NJMLS portion on the CMA. This is the screen you are dumped into where you can choose what your report to look like. You can print it. You can email it to people if you trust them. Maybe you want to have it in their hands before you have a Zoom discussion with them, or in the near future, hopefully you're meeting with them at the dining room table. So this is where the screen lets you off, and it will generate. I'm not going to bring up the report because it'll freeze all our screens, but that's where that goes. So, Roddy, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question. The screen before where you have the three properties lined up with the subject property, is there a way for us to be able to present that in a listing presentation?
That's part of this screen here. The summary of comparables, let's see, that's the comparison report.
Okay.
Right
So
here.
it's like, okay.
That's it. So if you choose the comparison report checkbox, you get that.
Got it. Thank you.
So at this point, and I appreciate you've already been with me for an hour and a half, but without going another hour and a half, let me show you two other quick options that you may or may not know that you can use in order to do pretty much the same thing we've just done, only with two different platforms that are going to look dramatically different when you present them. How's that? Because we're constantly looking for ways to differentiate ourselves so that yours doesn't look like mine. You want to look different when you're sitting in front of the seller. So basically, I hope you can see this if I put it up there. Can you see this? This note?
No,
You can't see that?
I can only see the NJMLS saved CMA pricing.
Okay, so let me discuss something with you just easily. The comp analysis is really 5 steps, no matter whose package you use. The first step is confirm the property facts for the subject. The second step is search for the comps. The third step is make adjustments. The fourth step is review the analysis. And the fifth step is print or send the comp analysis. So 5 steps, the same all the time, no matter which of these software packages you use. That said, let's go back here. And I'm going to go back here a second because I want to, again, for the purposes of the class, I'm just going to copy and paste an address, and I'm going to go here. So let's say you want to do a different kind of CMA, and you want to look different than everyone else. And let me know if you can see this. Hopefully you can. I went in the CMA column, and I brought up Cloud CMA. Can you see that?
Yes.
Good. So Cloud CMA is a nationwide reporting package that does buyer tours, property analysis, flyers, CMAs, all sorts of things. It's a third-party, well-known package, and it's included in your membership with New Jersey MLS. And the way you find it is in the search, in the CMA bar at the bottom. So you come down here, and I want to do a CMA. So I come down here, and I say, create a new report, and I choose CMA. And I come over here and I enter in, I'm going to put in Nick Mason again because he's the drummer with Pink Floyd and I always use rock and roll names. And I put in this address, and as you can see here, it found the address already. So I'm going to click on the address, and it filled in the square footage, and I know that it's got 3 beds and 2.5 baths. I think it uses 2.1 like the MLS does. And it's residential. And that's what I have. And this is how simple it is to get started. You have a choice of how you get your comps. You can either pick up exact MLS numbers. You might have a list of them, or you do, and I love this, they call it the quick and dirty. You click automatically find listings near the subject property. What do most agents want to do when they're looking at a house? They want to draw a radius around the neighborhood and be as local as possible, because while you can search in the entire town, we know that neighborhoods have their own personalities, and we'd like to be as close to that neighborhood as possible. And I say, pull me 10 listings. I don't need to go back a year. I think I'll do 3 months. I can add in additional criteria if I want to, like beds and baths, or as they say in Cloud CMA, bed, bath, and beyond. I'm not going to do that right now for the purpose of the discussion. I'm going to say fetch. And let's see what happens. It doesn't take much time. It's going to bring up a map with a radius around the address that I've chosen. And you should be able to see this. Come on. Here we go. There's my map. Can you see that?
Mm,
Yes.
yeah.
I hope so. There's my map. And what you can see here, and there's a code over here. So greens are actives. Tans or orange are under contract, and reds are sold. So it picked properties around the subject for the address I put in. I didn't have to come up with MLS numbers. Again, I'm doing this. It took 5 minutes so far. I come down here. In addition to the map, I've got the listings right here. I can include them all with one click. And then as I begin to look through the details or look up details on these properties, I can unselect them if I don't want them. I then have a summary over here on the right side of the low, median, average, and high values for these properties. I can select how I sort them. And I come down to the bottom and I say customize the report. So I'm not going to go through the full detail of how this gets done, but this is a very simple way for you to take an entirely geographic, map-based, different view of how to do the CMA without having to go through and enter in all the data and come up with a different look. The reports that Cloud puts out are gorgeous. They're personalized to you. Cloud CMA is a free supplemental piece of software. It's included in your New Jersey MLS membership. You will have to sign up for it, but it costs nothing, and it's nationwide. So as you've heard me say with other packages like Remine, if someone says they want to look at properties down the shore and they want to get a guesstimate of value, you can do this down the shore. You can do this in another state. It's a very valuable tool for you to have as an agent. Here's
Larry,
the
how do you think this Cloud CMA compares with Remine? If somebody said you've got to use one of those two, which would you choose? Or does it vary depending on circumstances?
I see them as two entirely separate packages, and I use them for two entirely different things.
Okay, so you don't use Remine for CMA then? Because presumably this is only for CMA, if it's called Cloud CMA, right?
I think Larry's gone again.
My name is Larry. Show me where the road turns.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Hmm.
Frozen. Mr. Freeze. Shh.
I thought he was just avoiding my question.
No, not you. Not you, Rebecca.
That was a nice looking dog with its owner.
Thank you.
I thought I'd better put that in so that you didn't think I was referring to you as the dog. What kind of dog is that?
This is a pit bull mix.
Oh, it's great.
Did you
I
get
got
it
a
from a
bit.
shelter?
Of course, I got it from the shelter.
Oh,
Me too.
wonderful, wonderful.
Dita, that's cool. That's what I did.
All my
Rescue-
dogs were from the shelter. I never went and bought a dog. They all came to me.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
that's awesome. That's what we do. I got a pit, maybe a little mix, but a lot of people don't like pits. They say they fight or whatever, all the time, but
No,
they're
they
good
don't.
dogs.
They don't.
How's the mic?
Wonder what's happened to Larry.
Hey, does everybody think this one we just used, that'd be good for a quick one, right? Like a quick, somebody wants to know the value of their house?
I was hoping that he would show us the final printout.
You're muted.
I'm getting booted out of my own meetings. Looks like I have a
Yeah,
good
you locked
connection.
out.
I can't figure out. Sorry about that.
Larry, any
Can't
chance that
cover
we
this.
could see the report as it would print out on that Cloud CMA?
Yes, let's do that.
Thank you.
So let's see.
We missed you.
I missed you guys as well. Let's see. I think I've got some of these that are pre-done because otherwise you'll have to wait for it to download. And let's see. View the PDF. Can I do that? Can I edit? My PDFs are all blocked. While I'm here on this screen, can you see this screen?
No, we can't see you.
Hang on. I'm sorry about that. That's really disappointing.
No, don't say that, Larry.
Thanks, Mikey.
You're my guy.
Thanks, Mikey. Let me see. Let me go back to share here. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to figure this out one of these days. How about that?
Yep,
yeah,
we see
that's
it.
good.
CMA report.
Okay. So you see Nick and Roger and Ringo and so forth. What you'll see here, and if you've been watching and reading reviews from the MLS, there's another really great feature that they put in Cloud to help us during these challenging times where we're trying to do CMAs and listing presentations remotely. So what they've done, if you can see this, is there's a new View Live feature where you can actually do a Zoom session and you can do a dynamic listing presentation with the sellers. And you can look at properties dynamically and go through pictures live rather than pointing to pieces of paper. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. There's actually a video on it in Cloud, and you can look and see how that gets done. I just want to introduce you to the possibility that it's there. Okay, you can see what's going on. You see this? So here's my comparative market analysis. Here's my comps. So I'm now doing a live CMA, to what would be you, the seller. So let's take a look at the comps and see how this goes. All right, so I'm talking to you as the seller, and instead of sitting here with my piece of paper, we're going through these listings. Here's my subject property. Here's the comps. And as I click on these, we can go through and I can bring up the pictures and you can say, well, how nice was the kitchen? Are you seeing this?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
I want you to know that this is a brand new feature that's been put into place the last couple of months with Cloud. So when people are asking, why do Cloud? Here it is. And again, there's a video online that says how to do this, but you'll see I'm doing it live here with no experience. So I'm talking to you, Mr. Seller, and you say, well, I've got a brand new updated kitchen with new cabinets and stainless and tile floor. Oh, but here's the comp on 3rd Street. Oh, that's really nice. So this is a software feature using Cloud CMA, no charge to you via New Jersey MLS, where you can do this remotely with your buyers and sellers. Pretty valuable, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very.
Hey, Larry.
Yes, go ahead.
If I might have missed it. I'm sorry, but did you show a way to do a quick CMA, like 10 minutes? Is this the one you would use, or if I missed it, no
Probably
worries.
would. If I wanted to do a quickie CMA and I had an address, I would do exactly what you saw. I would go in, I'd put in the address, I would do the quick and dirty. I would ask it to pull up 10 properties in the neighborhood. I'd check and include some. I would exclude others. Let me give you an idea here. Let me get back here to where we were, and I'll do it live.
You know, I love you, Larry.
I love you, Mikey.
They don't know we worked together for a number of years, Larry and I.
That's it.
We always
Under grueling conditions. I tell you, this is much easier than Joe Smith University.
Yeah. Gun was always to our head. More. Whoosh.
Oh, boy. Absolutely. So let me see. Yeah, let's do it again. See if I can do it again from scratch. So we want to do the quick and dirty. So I've got someone that wants to get an idea about their property. I put in their name, I put in their address. We're doing this live. When you put in the address, it fills in most of this. I come down here. How do I want to get my comps? I can either put in MLS numbers. Nah, it's too much work. Quick and dirty. Find me 10 listings. Go back 3 months. I don't need more criteria. Update my listings.
You wouldn't put bedrooms in and all now, right?
I wouldn't do it right now.
Yeah.
I can go in and fine tune that as we go. Right now, I'm going for a neighborhood and I want to see what's selling. Now, keep in mind how long this has taken. All right, boom. I've got my comps. I've looked around the neighborhood. I've got actives, I got under contracts, and I've got solds. Again, I come down to the list. Now, here's a question that comes up all the time. If I'm looking in Fairlawn, for example, and I'm on the border of Glenrock, or I'm on the border of Hawthorne, in this list, because it's chosen a radius in the down and dirty, the quick and dirty, it's going to pick other towns. Do I want to put other towns in my CMA?
No.
I don't think so. So what I do is I come to the list, and if I come down to a Glenrock or a Hawthorne and I want Fairlawn, I simply uncheck them before I go and create my customized report. As soon as I hit the customized report, I have exactly what you saw before. And then here's the adjustments. I come down here. Here's the adjustments on that property. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. I come down here. Here's where I put in my adjustment. Finished basement. And I come in and I can add a value. More adjustments. You see that? This is the adjustments page. I do as many or as few as I want. I use the same auto chart. This is the quick and dirty. And I come through and make a couple of adjustments. Maybe one of them says extraordinary kitchen. The kitchen's worth big money. I come in, I put it in there, I make an adjustment. It changes the adjustable price on the solds. I come down and I hit my customized report. How long did that take?
That was great.
Not very long.
Yeah, I didn't want to put my link in, like get a free market analysis, like in my, my email signature. Now I could put it in.
Yes.
Thanks to you, Larry.
Exactly, Mikey. You want to have the tools. Now, depending on where you're getting the link from, those algorithms may be built into whatever package you're deriving your link from. But if it's just a link that says, call me, you can come back and do the quick and dirty.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And another good advice, Larry.
Thank you, Mikey.
Everybody's Larry awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love this guy.
Larry, do you also do the CMA class in Garden State MLS or no?
Yeah, that stinks.
The quick answer is
No.
I've been working on Garden State for 15, 16, 17 years. I've yet to be able to figure out how to do the CMA.
I agree. I
Can't
agree.
figure it out. Don't do it. Can't figure it out. And I've done plenty of business in Garden State communities, Morristown, Randolph, Sussex, Essex. I can't figure it out.
So you do this CMA?
It is what I do. I'll give you the quick hint as to how I get it done, and I hope it helps you because I can't figure it out ever. And I've been working on it for a long time.
That software stinks.
I bring up a bunch of properties that I'm interested in, and I go to the report section, and rather than choosing agent full, I choose the vertical side by side.
Okay.
And what does the vertical side by side look like? It looks exactly like the side by side comparison report that Roddy asked me about before.
Mhm.
And then you can very easily line up the properties 3 and 4 across and take a look at them, use your auto chart,
Mhm.
and manually make adjustments.
Got it. Thank you.
I then, second piece, and that's it, 2
Mhm.
pieces. I bring up that Fannie Mae 1004 report, which is the appraiser's report that shows you whether or not the market is going up or down in their neighborhood. I recommend that report highly.
What was it called? Fannie Mae?
It's called, here it is. Hold on. Hang on. Bum, 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 bum. Hang on. Bum, bum, bum. I want to give you the right one. Hang on. I want to give you the right report name. The report is called, there it is.
Okay.
Wow.
You probably have not seen that report before because it hides above the full report and you miss it.
Wow.
No, I've never noticed that
Me
before.
neither.
Ask Patty Jalal, it's her favorite new report that she didn't know about. I encourage you to run it and learn it. And from here, you'll see where the appraisers get all their opinions about where the market's going in that town. This exact report is available in Garden State. So to wrap up that question, when I do a Garden State analysis, I do it much more manually because I'm not embarrassed to say I can't figure it out. I print up the comparison side by side. Thank you, Roddy. And I print out the Fannie Mae report about what's happening in their town. What it's going to show you is what's happening last 90 days, 90 to 180, and 180 to 360 out. And it's showing you the trends in town, which is exactly the way the appraisers look at it. And from there, I form my own opinions and I price the house.
Okay.
It's the only way I've been able to figure out the Garden State. I do it thoroughly manually. And
You
I
do it through NJMLS, right? You do it
What's
through
that,
your,
sir?
you do it through your Cloud CMA, whatever you're using, right?
You can definitely do it with Cloud CMA.
I just have to have the MLS numbers, right?
Or you do quick and dirty and it's going to grab them. It's because it's not going to ask you for listing numbers.
It asks for addresses.
No. No, do the cloud. In other words, come in here and do, let's go back.
Could be Morris County, could be Morris Plains.
That's what I'm going for here. Let's do
Right.
this. I'm going to pick a house that I sold recently. I recently sold this house to my friends in Morristown.
Perfect.
For those of you that are hockey fans, Martin Brodeur used to own this house.
Oh, really?
Oh,
That's
wow.
awesome.
Unfortunately, it's the house where he had an affair with his sister-in-law and it cost him the house, so it was my gain.
Oh, was that recently?
Oh.
Holy
That's a
cow.
true story.
Didn't even know that.
The sale was recent, the affair was not.
Wow.
But that was the beginning of the end for Martin.
That's good information, Larry.
Ooh.
It's a beautiful house.
Wow.
Super hot.
Yeah. I hope Lundquist don't do that.
I hope he doesn't. He's my buddy.
Me too.
So anyway, as you saw, we can just go through and update the listings and it's going to go through and grab them. And I don't need to know MLS numbers and I can pretend I don't know anything about Morristown. Let's see how fast this comes up.
You just put the address that you wanted.
I just put the address and here you go. Here's my map. Okay,
That's amazing.
let's pretend I don't know anything about Morristown. It's got actives, under contracts and solds. I come through here. Oh, it's got fair loans. I need to update all these. I need to update the properties here. Hold on. You get the idea, right?
Yes.
You put in another address, and if you can do this in Oklahoma, you can do this down the shore.
Wow.
This is fantastic. This is like my aha moment of the month.
Right?
Even
Right,
if
Adita?
say you're in, looking something in a different state, you don't belong to the MLS, it wouldn't bring up all this data though, would it?
Yeah, the data's public.
Oh, the
Same as-
actives and the under
Same as
contract?
Remine. The same as Remine. Remine is meant to look up properties that are primarily off market. If I'm looking in my local marketplace, I will see listings that are local. If I look them up down the shore in Cape May, because I have someone who wants to buy a house in Cape May, I will not see their local listings from Keller Williams and Christie's and Coldwell Banker and Saul Needles Real Estate. But I will see all the other properties. And if there's closings, and I will see all those. So you can use these packages to help people around the country. You won't see the active listings, you'll see solds.
Oh, you just see the solds. You won't see the actives or the under contracts. You just see the solds because that's public knowledge.
Right. But if you want to go in and do that, you can use realtor.com, which we've always used, and then you'll see active listings. So again, think about all these things we're talking about as a really large tool belt. And we're trying to talk to you about how to put more tools in your tool belt. So besides your local MLS, I don't have to join Ocean County MLS. I can use realtor.com. I can use Remine. I can use Cloud. I can use HomeSnap, which is why we're trying to get everyone up to speed on these, because you can use these anywhere and really give your clients a high level of confidence that you can help them on a primary property, on a vacation property, and so forth.
Hey, Larry, to
Sure.
the right of your address, it has more than solds. It has 13 under contract, 13 active. I thought you can't look at them.
Well, let's see. There you go.
We can because we're in that area. We belong to Garden State and NJ.
Oh, I thought Larry said it's only the solds. Maybe he meant in an area we don't belong.
No,
Yeah,
if
an
you're
area
looking
where
in
you're outside.
Colorado or Cape May or something.
Gotcha.
Yes.
we're
Yeah,
in-
because we belong to MLSs that feed this particular software.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So it may be because Mount Kemble Avenue is listed in New Jersey, but it's certainly listed in Garden State. And therefore, we're going to get these data because this is still relatively local.
So one Holmes Court was Martin Boudreau's house?
Yes,
Until
yes,
you
it was.
sold it? Until you just sold it?
I sold it a couple of years ago.
Oh, and he was your client?
No, my friends are my clients. He owned it 2 sellers ago. But when we looked into the history, that kind of came up in discussion, just as a kind of a, oh, by the way.
Bit of gossip.
Oh, by the way. So when we're walking through the master suite, there was plenty of giggling.
I could imagine.
He was an amazing goalie.
He was.
Yes, he was certainly one of the best. Absolutely. Even though I'm a Rangers fan and Henrik is my guy.
Me too, buddy.
That's it.
Oh, my son loved the Devils.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's the cloud piece. All right, so I've now held you for all this other time here. Let me get out of the cloud piece and finish with the last piece. So again, I talked about the 5 steps in how we do the analysis. Verify the subject, find the comps, adjust the comps, run the analysis and review it, and then produce your report. Same 5 steps all the time. So let's say you want to go to another source that you're also entitled to from your membership, and that would be RPR. So how do we get to RPR? We come over to any of these listings in the MLS. You can belong to RPR because you're a NAR member. Again, you have to sign up and make an account, but it's no charge. I come over to the letter P. I hope you've done this. And I click on the letter P, and let's watch what pops up. And I hope this pops up for you. And this goes along to Mikey's question about analysis. Between Remine and RPR, you have an instant one-click valuation model. Now, let's not kid ourselves. This is the same guesstimate that some of our other associated packages use, and you have to decide how much faith you want to put in it. So I just clicked on this particular address and it brings it up, and it tells me that there's a list price because it knows it's listed. And it
We're
knows
not seeing that, Larry.
and there's no AVM. Are we searching it? We seeing it?
No.
No.
We can't see it. Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see. The screen sharing gets a little hairy. How do I get here? How do I get here and share that with you? I'm not sure. Can you see it now?
No.
I'll have the MLS.
No, we just see the NJMLS list of all those properties in Fairlawn.
All right, let's see. Let's see if I can get it to you. I'm trying, bear with me a second. I'm trying to get it to you. Come on, where's my share options? Bum, 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 bum. Thumbnail. Hang on, I'm trying to get there. Trying to get there. Active speaker, nope, not there. New share. Oh, I might have it. Hang on. How about that?
Got it.
Yeah.
Good.
Nice, looks nice.
Good. So all I did was go into any MLS listing in the one line, and off on the right where the colored buttons are, there's a kind of an olive green button that's P for RPR. We had to use P because R was already taken for realist.
Right.
So you click on that, and if you're a member, it launches RPR. So it will bring up the property that you click on. It'll bring up this map over here. It'll give you details about the property. Now this is listed, so you're going to see listing photos. You're going to see the details as to who's got it listed, the MLS, some valuable data here about the town and so forth, including some other data that you can share. Now keep in mind, you can also bring up this report for any address. So Mikey, when you put in your link that says you want to know about your house, call me, you can put in the address and bring up RPR, and in one click, you're going to have RPR's AVM or automated valuation model.
Wow.
Whether or not you choose to wing this number and say, this is my opinion, is something you want to work on.
But
What do you call that? An AV what?
It's called either an AVM, an automated valuation model, or a realtor valuation model based on previous listings and sales.
yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. You said
ahead.
on the previous page, you could get all the, who listed the house and everything. I wouldn't want to send that to them, right? I could get that out of there.
Yes, you can get rid of that stuff. So it's not going to put that person in there. It's going to put together a report, and it's going to put your face on it.
Oh, boy.
Larry, can you show us a report?
I can. So what you'll see here is a couple of things. You'll see the summary on the property, details about housing, people that are associated, demographics about the economy, quality of life, and all sorts of other stuff that we're getting encouraged not to discuss and volunteer because that's only our opinion. So all that stuff is here. All this stuff you may or may not know about that town. Here's the schools. Again, they're going to quote the school source where that's all coming from. And you have a map here and so forth. So then you have the report section. I hope you can see this.
Yeah.
Can you see the report section?
Yes.
All right. So you have a variety of reports. I like to use these a lot. Here's a sample of what it looks like. So again, when you set this up the first time, you'll put in your information. It's already going to know what brokerage you're with, because when you sign up, it's going to ask you who you're with. It's going to personalize this for you, and you have property reports, sellers reports, flyers, mini properties, valuation, market activity, neighborhood report. I've been talking for a while about using the neighborhood report. So if Mikey invites me to his area and says, listen, I'd like you to come and do an open house with me in Nutley. I know that Nutley is largely around Route 3 and was the home for Huffman LaRoche for a
Martha
year.
Stewart too.
But
Martha
I
Stewart.
don't know Nutley real estate that well. Before I went down to an open house, I would print a dozen neighborhood reports about Nutley, and it presents this beautiful report. Here's a sample. And as you
Wow.
can see, this is the name. Now, that was one click.
Wow.
So it instantly put together a report that's going to be personalized to Larry. And so when I hand it out there, it's going to look like I know a little bit about the neighborhood.
Looks like you worked hard on it too.
I we're like sweating working this out.
So is
Larry-
this suitable to share with a potential buyer?
Absolutely. Now, this is not the real estate report. This is neighborhood. If you want the real estate report, you would click the market activity report, which is going to look similar. And as you're going to see, this is going to talk with heat maps about what's going on in town. So if you're carrying a box of a dozen market activities and a dozen neighborhood reports, and you go to the open house and these are personalized with your face and information on them, this is pretty valuable stuff to hand out.
Yeah.
This is going to have your active listings, your under contracts. I didn't select them. It's just giving people an idea what's doing in town. So I encourage you to go into RPR, narrpr.com, narrpr.com, set yourself up, put in your primary MLS, tell them where you work, and set up your account. It costs $0, takes a couple of seconds, and you have access to all of this.
What do you mean by a heat
Change the
report?
range as far as the price range for the properties listed?
It's going to have them all here.
Okay, but I mean, you can't narrow it down if somebody was looking for something particular.
No, the purpose of this is kind of a show-off report.
Okay.
This is everything doing in town.
Larry, what did you mean by heat report?
This heat report's going to show you right here. Hold on, let me pause this.
What is a heat report?
This is a heat map that's going to show people where the active sections in town are.
Okay.
and
So if
activity.
it's dark, there's a lot of stuff. If it's light, it's nothing.
Yes, called
Yeah,
heat
okay,
map,
okay.
like the
Okay.
Remind, like the heat map.
Yeah. Got
Larry,
it.
we can just get to RPR from the MLS, right?
If you have an account.
Okay, good.
If you have an account set up, you simply click the P button
Yep.
and it drops you into RPR. If you just are on your laptop and you want to type in narrpr.com, boom.
Okay.
Because you may not always be looking at listed properties. You may just want to go in and generate a report.
I have a new client coming out of New York City, and she keeps telling me that she has a crime report. Now, is that crime report listed in here anywhere?
I think there may be something in the neighborhood section. I'd have to look through at the details of the sample. Let's see.
Yeah, because I hate when the client knows more than I do, but
I hear you.
there's so much. I don't know how long Mike's been doing this, but I started 8 years ago,
11 months.
yeah, it used to be that, the agents that really did their homework were ahead of the game. Now it's a little scary because everyone knows too much.
Yeah, the people
Well,
know everything.
By virtue of the fact that everyone's carrying around $1,000 phone and they have apps, they have access to information that only we used to have.
Right.
So now you're competing with your clients. And a lot of them are really happy to be telling you how much more information they're pulling than you are.
Right.
You got to be on your toes. So I think that your question comes up under quality of life.
Yeah.
So what you see in here is there's housing. This is people and stats and demographics. Because, people are always asking those questions that we're not supposed to answer as far as, is my family going to be comfortable in this neighborhood?
Right.
Which town is more blue collar? Well, this is my answer. I'm going to send you this report. I'm not going to pretend like I know. RPR and our data, where it comes from, I think it's under life stats. And besides that, I've been using these sources. I've also been using niche.com. And niche.com is a big source for Remine. And Niche definitely has a crime report. So if people are looking to see, where I want to live, they're looking at things like greatschools.org, and they're looking at niche.com.
Yeah.
And some of this data is coming from there. So I think this is coming under the quality of life.
Okay.
Because now you see things like drivability. People want to know, if I buy this house, am I going to have to drive to go get food? What's my drivability rating? What's my commute? I recently won over a buyer client by sharing HomeSnap with them, because when you put in your work address, every single house that you're looking at comes up with a commute number. And they love that, because they used to go to other sources. And do I want them looking at other sources on their phone?
No.
No, I want them looking at sources that have me on them, because then they stay with me. So I want to know about these tools. All it took was HomeSnap to win them over. They love the fact that they go out, even if they're with me or not, they're standing in front of the house and they go, honey, how far to work? According to Larry, 17 minutes. Really cool.
Larry, be honest. Larry, be honest. Are you giving them HomeSnap or are you giving them the KW app?
I use HomeSnap for that purpose.
Okay.
I have, I'll say this out loud, but I have issues with the KW app.
I love the old one. It was so easy for me. I have tech troubles. And the other one was so good. I could stand anywhere and find out what houses were on the market for. I'm having great difficulty with the new one.
Oh, that's what I use HomeSnap for that. I went on a walk recently and I go on it frequently, but suddenly there was a for sale sign. Wow, I didn't know about that. And I quickly pulled out my phone. Well, actually, my phone was already out, but I stopped the music and quickly signed into Remine. And I didn't even have to type anything in. It knew where I was and it brought the listing up immediately.
No, that's really good. Good. Thank you
So
for
if I bumped into somebody on my walk and they said, oh, what's going on with that property down there? I could tell them immediately what all the facts, and I thought, oh my God, this is awesome. Thanks to Larry. I probably wouldn't have known about it if I hadn't have taken some of Larry's classes.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Good point. I was standing in the street after showing 5 houses on open houses last Sunday, and my people were looking at the house next door that's not for sale and said, boy, that looks really nice. I wonder what that's all about.
And you pulled it up on Remine?
I brought up HomeSnap. It has the camera button in the corner. You click on it, it knows where you are, and it brought up all the data from the tax record about a house that's not listed.
Wow.
You want to come up with apps that'll get people to stick with you and not go away and pull up other apps. There you go, bingo. So I use the KW app for some things. I use the HomeSnap for other things. You want to be familiar with all these aspects, but for these guys coming out of Queens, knowing the instant commute from every single property they're looking at was huge without having to go look. As soon as you get there, you bring it up right up on top. It says work 17 minutes, work 23 minutes. Boom. That's the kind of value we want to bring. You want to put something in their hands so they stay away from those other apps that we don't discuss out loud.
Right. Actually, I can't remember whether it was HomeSnap or Remine that I used.
No, you probably don't have Remine on your phone. I guarantee it was HomeSnap.
Really? Okay. Oh, no, I do have that Remine on my phone, Larry. It was Remine. I remember now. It was, I do remember because it has that funny little R icon on my apps.
All right.
So it's Remine, yeah. But I honestly did think about you when I did it.
Good. I'm glad. I want your clients to be thinking about you and not thinking about other apps and competing with you. I want them to be saying, you know, I got this information from Leslie or Rebecca because you gave me this really cool app. And then all they have to do is say, ask my agent about it and click it and it goes to you. You know, I'm interested in this. So, I mean, how can it be better? I don't want these on other apps. I don't want that stuff. I want them to be thinking about us. Okay, I've held you for 2 hours. I'm enjoying this immensely. What else can we talk about regarding CMAs?
Hey, Larry,
Mikey,
if you were new, like a lot of us, you know, not too long in the business, and to do that thing I was talking about, you know, call me for a quick market analysis. If you had to choose, would you use RPR or would you use the Cloud CMA, or it depends? I'm a quick one.
real quick,
I want to do a lot. Yeah.
real quick, you get that phone call, I would have RPR and Remind both open on my screen. And if I was going to do it like that, in trying to get an appointment, I would have them both up. I'd put the address into both and I would compare them and I'd go from there.
Thank you.
I will caution you from a non-sales standpoint that you want to look at them and you want to take the information with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I put in my personal address and I look at the valuation, and if it was really worth what it says on RPR, I would sell it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you want to take a look and you want to put in some level of sensibility, but if you want to use it as an introduction to get you in the door, the nice thing about the Remind, for example, is it actually tells you what the data sources are, where it gets the valuation model from.
Yeah.
It tells you that it's using Black Knight and Redfin and First Residential or the Z word, and it's combining all 4 valuations to come up with the number.
Yeah, that caution you part is going to be the challenge, you know?
That's the real challenge. I mean, if someone took me out of my neighborhood and asked me to give them a definitive on there and wing it, you got to be cautious.
Yeah.
Again, I could pull up this house that I know really well and I show you the model, and I haven't looked at it today, but when I take a look at it, I mean, it's not even close. And I'm not throwing stones at these apps. I love them, but you gotta be careful. I don't know where the model comes from. I've got a modest house, modest 3-bedroom in a neighborhood of knockdown, expanded 6 bedrooms in an Orthodox community where I grew up. And if my house was worth that, I would sell it tomorrow. So I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
But you know, we use them for the best possible reasons we can.
I think the apps and the technology are awesome, but they're only as good as the data they get, and they don't control the data. They are getting the data from public records, and some of that is
That's correct.
Weird.
But it's all going to change. You probably know this. If you're reading the news, it's all going to change because there's guys at Z World, which we don't talk about out loud,
right,
are now joining our MLSs, and they're becoming brokerages, and they're hiring agents.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're actually going to be people with a Z hat. It's not going to say this. It's going to say Z on it, and they're going to be going in and out of houses. So we're no longer going to be able to say the Z guys don't know what's doing in the house because they haven't been in it. So you got to be prepared for that. Not that I want to get off on politics or policy, but that's real happening now.
They're going to be agents?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. They're joining our MLS.
Wow.
Their application for brokerage is in with the MLS and a lot of the others, and they're going to be getting the feeds and so forth, and that's going to change the whole world. But all the more reason why we got to, you know, stay focused and be good at what we do.
Oh, it's going to hurt our business, possibly.
Yeah, Mike, if you don't mind me saying, Larry, if someone asked me for a quick market analysis, I would start conversing with them and say, listen, I really need to get inside your house to see what it looks like. Go in, and you might be scared to death like me, but I go, I take pictures, be calm, and then come home and call everyone else here to help you so you can really give them a great report by the end of the night. And people will help you. So
that's good advice, Leslie.
That's what I would do. Just be super nice, and they tell you their house is fantastic. You go, oh yeah. You know,
that's the appointment. No, that's a good point. But
Use the tools, get the appointment.
get the appointment, build a rapport, see the house. Leslie,
Yeah.
you're a genius, I think.
Oh, I'm a genius, but I'm not making all the money yet, right,
Yeah,
Larry?
you will. But
You're
Larry,
on the way, Leslie.
I
Larry,
know.
the thing you said about Zillow or the Z, that scares me. What do you think, or your opinion is how much would that hurt our business? Will it hurt minimally, a lot, or you don't know?
It's hard to say. It depends on how they behave. That's coming up in every meeting that we have right now is, how do they behave? What rules and regs do they have to abide by? They have to take ethics classes, how are they, it's a brokerage. It's no longer just iBuyers online. It's going to be real people.
Does it say when it's gonna start?
It depends. There's some other things, but they have formal applications in to join the MLSs.
Well, Redfin are trying to break into the market, and they haven't done that well recently.
So, and those of us that have been around, remember the other guys, the other discounters. So am I going to worry about this and panic? The answer is no.
Good.
Yeah, those people from England, weren't they?
I didn't worry about Foxtons, and I'm not worrying about these guys,
Foxtons, that
but
was it.
they're on top of it, and the public